Francis Schaefer and Schaefer Coop. In 89, 88, 89, I was involved as a leadership role in Operation Rescue's Northeast Indiana Rescue Branch out of Fort Wayne. We took on some pretty big actors, including Susan Hill, and she ended up getting an injunction against me and two others, basically running me out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, my home of birth, and off to Wichita, where I got into all sorts of trouble out there and shut down an abortionist training program out there, and we saw an abortion clinic go down. Ended up going to law school. Ended up, after law school, going back to Kansas, getting my license in Kansas. Montana said I had good moral character. I could come into their bar. I joined the Supreme Court in the year 2000. In 2006, I was checked out by Missouri and the National Conference of Bar Examiners, and they both said, yeah, you got good moral character, you got mental fitness, come on in. So I was all set to go into Missouri, and then we lost the re-election in Kansas with Klein, where I was serving as Deputy Attorney General, one of his right-hand men, running the Consumer Protection and Antitrust Division, 20,000 investigations in 4 years, very responsible position, subpoena power, et cetera, et cetera. And as fate would have it, I was brought back to Indiana, not just back to the home of my birth, and the city of my birth, but brought back to the abortion clinic that had sued me. It was had just went up on the market. We put together some money to buy it. We secured it, and then started the Archangel Institute inside of it. And we took the 3 procedure rooms and turned those into rooms dedicated to Christian activism: Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael. Very controversial. At the same time, then, I tried to get an Indiana bar. What should have been about a 3-month application process went on for 31 months, because one thing they did is that they said because of my they didn't say religious, because of my fervor and emotional expressiveness, I needed to go see a psychologist, which I took some hesitancy at, but I thought, well, I know I'm sane. This shouldn't be a problem. He did give me 3 tests. One of them came up saying the Minnesota Multi-State Personality Index 2. During the test, it started asking me questions about how I view my own state of grace. Do I have strong political opinions? Do I believe there's a lot of people involved in sexual immorality in our culture? And I start writing these things down. The psychologist comes out and goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm writing down some of these questions that really shouldn't be asking me. And he said, you can't do that. And I said, well, I'm a Kansas attorney. I have been since 96. I think I know I can. This is my work product. And he goes, no, you can't take notes of this test. I said, well, I actually, have that ability, that right. And he goes, you're not going to take those notes out of here. And I said, well, then you're going to safeguard them. And that started my conflict with these people. Now, he ended up, much like the Soviets, he said that I passed and that there should be nothing keeping me from the bar, but that my fervor and my emotional expressiveness in my past gave him the consideration that I may have a bipolar condition of a hypomanic variety that is subclinical. Subclinical means it can only be found by a clinician, and hypomanic means that you're only either really high or you're normal. You don't have a depressive phase. And so I told him, I said, well, I looked at the 10 criteria, and 5 of them come right out of Galatians chapter 5. What you're seeing is the fruit of the Spirit evident in my life. I'm 50 years old. I'm not bipolar. It would have showed already, and you didn't do any of the tests. Well, they got very upset at my resistance to their manipulation because, see, they used that to not allow me to sit for the bar, but to tell me now I have to go see a psychiatrist. To make a long story short, they ended up directing which psychiatrist I should see, and she ended up being a pro-abort that's been active in the Evangelical Women's Conference in Indiana since 1973, Evangelical and Ecumenical, a group dedicated to pro-choice ideology, female priesthood, and everything that me as a member of the patriarchy stands against. So, to make a long story short, I ended up being told that I could not be an Indiana attorney and that I couldn't even ask again for 5 years. And part of it is because I'd been uncivil in telling them I was going to sue them for the way they were treating me through this process. So, of course, I've now sued them and shown that it's not just a threat. And in my 265-paragraph affidavit, which is available at the website, www.archangelinstitute.org, I wrote, in conclusion, upon information and belief, all the foregoing alleges that plaintiff was the subject of a conspiracy to fail him through the JLAP process by defendants and others, including the Doe defendants, acting in collusion and out of biases, invidious discriminatory intent, and animus, causing them to target him because of his pro-life beliefs arising out of his traditional Christian worldview and constitutional conservative political perspective. I filed this lawsuit on December 8th, and we're off and running now.
Brian, can I ask you a quick question? Do all lawyers that want to sit before the bar have to take this psychological exam?
Not now, not yet.
But so you're maybe one of the first that's.
I'm the canary in the coal mine, Troy.
So you've been an attorney. I know you worked for AFA. You're down in Mississippi. You're an attorney in Montana. You sat as the assistant attorney general in the state of Kansas. You're accepted,
general, but I don't want to get picky about that.
Okay.
Yes.
and Missouri, but Indiana says
I was admitted into. I passed character and fitness in Missouri. And I've been a Kansas attorney since 1996, and yes, I've argued before half the federal appellate courts in the country on behalf of pro-lifers. I've argued a successful case before Sam Alito before he went up on the high court, one of his 5 most important cases that came up during Senate confirmation. I've got bona fides as an attorney, but it's all right-wing, radical, wacko stuff. Hey. And that's why they could get away.
Well, that's because you were my attorney.
And they have.
Well, wait a minute, Troy. He was our attorney, too. But the point Troy's getting to here is, because I've seen this play out before with other attorneys that I've worked with.
Right.
When you have the kind of credentials that a man like Brian has, and you want to move from one state to the next, or you just want to represent a client in another state.
Right.
If you've got these kind of credentials and you don't have any disciplinary problems and you don't have any of these other moral problems that they bring up, getting admitted there is basically a rubber stamp deal.
It's a little procedural move.
And yet, because of this man, and they're openly stating, they're not even trying to hide it. They're openly stating that because of his fervor for the pro-life movement, he has to go be evaluated by a doctor that they choose, who they know up front has this animus against him.
And they don't divulge that to me.
Yeah.
It's
and you know
tell me this is not the Soviet Union.
They're taking away his ability to make a living, his livelihood based on his religious beliefs. Isn't that what the Nazis did to the Jews?
Right.
Hello.
It's
tell you what, every lawyer in the country should be standing with you on this one, because otherwise their professions are in jeopardy. Just a matter of time. When you said you're a canary, that's true. And but I tell you what, if the canary drops over, everybody better start running.
Right. But again, I want to say what I said a minute ago. We said it many months ago, that especially on the day that Obama was inaugurated, we woke up in a different country than what we went to bed in the night before. And as these things continue to happen, that becomes more and more clear. The America that we all grew up in doesn't exist anymore. Mm-hmm. We're living in a system now of government that is much closer to the Soviet Union. Right. And I keep thinking about what Gorbachev said back in the not Gorbachev, Khrushchev said back in the 50s. You know, we will bury you. Right. You'll sell us the rope that we'll use to hang you with. Yeah. And they always said they would take us over from inside, that we don't need to take you over militarily. We're going to take you over internally. We're there. This is happening right in front of our eyes. And you might be tempted to say, well, this is just one little attorney up in Indiana. What real difference does it make? If they can do this to him and get away with it, there's no stopping them.
I am hoping that this is a God's scheme that's going down too. A prophet is not without honor except in his own
hometown. That's right.
Yes. And of all places for Brian to run into a problem, and I think this is prophetic, and it may work to his advantage. The one thing I learned about Brian Brown, even when he helped us in a little case in Macomb, Georgia, when they didn't want us to do a march, and he told me he was going to take him to court, and I think they thought he was bluffing. Right. Oh, not only was he not bluffing, he won real quickly.
Well, let me tell you, we're out of time.
And in this situation, I think it's good. We're dealing with an attorney that does not bluff.
Right. Hey, Brian.
Yep.
We're out of time, but I want to ask you something. Do you anticipate that the next step will be them coming to you and saying, Mr. Brown, we will consider your application if you will attend this re-education camp?
You know, they determined that I was so bad that re-education wasn't on the table, and that's because of the many letters I wrote them that are now under confidentiality. And when I get that lifted, I'm going to write a book on the letters, and you guys are going to be slapping your knees and laughing at the stuff that I wrote to these people, and that they were just too thick to understand that we live in a government that's supposed to have a First Amendment to the Bill of Rights.
Our rights are being And now it's not even being done slowly, and it's being done right in front of our eyes.
And brazenly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, Brian, and keep us posted on what's going on with you, because this is the sort of thing that it makes my blood boil, and I think it probably does a lot of other people out there. We have to know about this stuff because, surprisingly, none of the national media has picked up on this. If he were representing homosexuals, if he were representing the abortion lobby, if he were representing a labor union, a communist, his name would be a household name all over America.
Right.
I'll tell you, Mark, keep an eye on my website. I'm posting almost daily the tie-ins, and I filed a motion yesterday that, or the day before yesterday, that's pretty big. This thing's primed and ready to go.
Okay, well, listen, we're putting your website up on the screen right now, so people can.
It's a great website.
All right,
go to it.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, God bless you all. Shireen, nice to meet you. Mark, I worked with your stuff back in '91. Used some of the Firestorm stuff to put Wesley Hospital on the ropes.
Wow.
Johnny Hunter, I'm so glad you're doing so much better health-wise. I love you, brother.
Thank you.
Troy, great to touch with you again. Like you a lot. Love you. Give me a call sometime. We'll touch base again.
You got it, buddy.
We're glad you're out there. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Brian.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.
Bye-bye. It is amazing. I guarantee you there's not a kid in the United States that wouldn't know his name and his story if he were defending the homosexual community. There's not a kid in the country that wouldn't know exactly who he was. It's amazing. That's it for now. Until next month, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you in February.